What is up, gang? It is I, Carlton Flowers, your crypto pro.
Yay!
And today we have an announcement from the Federal Reserve. So we're going to talk about the effect of the announcement on the market and then break down the Bitcoin chart and tell you exactly what I expect to transpire. So we are just coming off the heels of the announcement, and let's just pop over here real quick and check out what Jerome Powell had to say. Then we're going to jump straight into the Bitcoin chart, and I will share with you my insight on where we go from here. All right, take it away, Chairman Powell.
In support of our goals and in light of the balance of risks to employment and inflation, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by a 0.25 percentage point. We also decided to conclude the reduction of our aggregate securities holdings as of December 1. I will have more to say about monetary policy after briefly reviewing economic developments. Available indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a moderate pace. GDP rose at a 1.6% pace in the first half of the year, down from 2.4% last year. Data available prior to the shutdown show that growth in economic activity may be on a somewhat firmer trajectory than expected, primarily reflecting stronger consumer spending.
However, he was hawkish. He says all of these things, and then the but comes, where he talks about the fact that next month it is not set in stone that they're going to do another rate cut. So he's kind of hinting here that he may want to cool things down because he does not trust completely where the economy is going. Now, I want to jump over to this article here that gives a good summary. We're going to cover a couple of points here, and then we'll jump into the Bitcoin chart. So upon the announcement, Bitcoin did jump down to about 109,000, and then it kind of popped back up. Overall, there wasn't a huge overreaction. We didn't see like blood in the streets where we crash all the way down, because I've been talking about the possibility of revisiting 105K, the support level under the current price. And with this announcement, we did not see an immediate flash crash going all the way down to that support level. In fact, it just wicked down and it came right back up to 110K. So he's talking about a weakness overall that is growing in the labor market. And that's why he said that December rate cuts are not a foregone conclusion. So he was unexpectedly hawkish in the press conference, suggesting that markets are way ahead of himself. So he wants to cool things down. And that's why he's saying he's not guaranteeing that he's going to cut rates in December, because he doesn't want the market to get ahead of itself. So this goes on to say that the markets went a little bit lower, and it's only down 5% over the past 24 hours. At the time of this article, it was at 110 or just below, and now it's already come back above $110,000. Now, it goes on to say that crypto is morphing into a plunge after the unexpectedly hawkish remarks. That was an overstatement, because it did not morph into a plunge, or maybe not just yet. All right, it might morph into that plunge as we revisit 105K, but that is already in the charts. It was already something that I see, which tells me that the rate cut was baked in. In other words, we're not going to overreact because of the rate cut announcement, because everyone was expecting it. And so as I was saying, hey, we might revisit 105K, that was with the understanding that we were going to get this 0.25% rate cut from the Federal Reserve. So we don't see a big crash, because they're already taking that into consideration. So then he goes on to say that it's not a foregone conclusion that he cuts the rates, that it was a shock to markets, which had priced in a 90% chance of another rate cut at the Federal Reserve's final meeting of the year. So in other words, everybody was betting that we're going to get the rate cut in December. He comes out and says, not so fast, Skippy. It's not guaranteed. Okay, so continuing on here, there's a couple other little points here. The 10-year Treasury yield has now jumped 8 basis points to 4.06%, and the dollar is surging higher. That's interesting. The bull run is going to happen when the dollar loses strength. Okay, so this tells me that if the dollar is surging right now, we're not yet in the bull run. The bull run is going to happen when the dollar starts to quickly lose value. And I think that's going to happen when the Fed start printing a ton of money in the first quarter of 2026. That's my opinion. Don't take that as financial advice. That also is not set in stone. Okay, with that, let's jump over to the charts, and I'll tell you what the technical analysis says. And as they always say, you know what the saying goes: show me the news and I'll show you the charts. In other words, people think that the chart is governed by news releases, but I say the charts will create the news. In other words, when the charts are primed for a drop or a pump, they'll release a news story to justify it because the markets are being manipulated. So let's jump up here to Bitcoin. And yes, we are still above 110,000 at 110,701 and kind of jumping up and down just a little bit. But as you can see, look at the stochastic, very weak and dropping down. We had this impending bullish cross that unfurled and dropped off. But as I always say, you need to look up above and see what the price is doing in comparison to what the stochastic cycle is doing. So while we cycled way down here below the 50 line, here we are way down here, right? Did price drop equally? No, it did not. We only had a slight decrease in price as we moved from about 115 down to 110. So with this full cycle down, only returning a price of currently 110 and still going down, that tells me that we're probably pretty close to the bull run. And it also tells me that I'm still betting on 105K as being the support level under the most probable predictions. Okay, the most probable outcome here is that 105K is going to be where we bottom out before the bull run. The next probable point of support is going to be at the top of this support resistance zone. And that just happens to be, let's see, let me turn this off and get a price point. That's right there at 101,000. Least likely is jumping down to 92 at the bottom of this box. So I'm, for right now, looking at 105. Once we get there, revisit and see where we are in the stochastic cycle to determine if we bounce all the way down to 101 before the bull run starts. So that's the 1 week chart. And when we look at where the stochastic cycle could be once we hit the bull run. So here we are right here. We're probably going to find a bottom and then come back up again. And then we have the bull run and then it hangs out up here for an extended period of time. Or we get like a divergence where stochastic is bouncing around going down while price is moving up. Those are the two types of scenarios that we're going to see that will play out in the bull run. Okay, what was the point I was trying to make? I'm almost losing track of my point here. All right, so looking at the time frame, that was my point. So while we're up here at the peak of the next stochastic cycle, I'm thinking January to March, April, May is going to be the bull market peak because we're just not close enough. I was thinking November before, but how are we going to have a market cycle peak in November? We would have to go straight up from here because we're 2 days away from November. So that tells me that this cycle is definitely different. There's no guarantee that they're always the same exact 4-year time frame because the crypto market is in the early stages of development. Eventually, it's going to be like the stock market where we see these 13-year cycles that are going to reign supreme, not just the clean 4-year cycle where we surge up and crash back down 90%. It's going to end up being a more smooth line where for 13 years we go up and then we come down for a bear market for a year or two and then we surge up again. And in general, it just continues to move up at a steady pace. And that is in direct proportion with the printing of the US dollar. Okay, we're always going to print the dollar because this is a debt-based economy. Money doesn't really exist. All we have is currency, and we print that to pay debts, which devalues the dollar. So as the dollar is devalued, it buys less Bitcoin, which means the Bitcoin price goes up. Now on the 1-day chart, you see that we've got a little curling over right here, just slightly, not so much, where the blue line is starting to hook over. And we have the 1, 2, 3 red candles up above. So that tells me we're probably going to get this full cycle down. And then we'll find out, do we go to the 105K base or do we go down here to the 101 base? That is what we're going to see within the next week. Okay, so look for this to play out where we have a full, complete stochastic cycle, which is confirmed by the MACD oscillators down here, where you see the blue line curling over right here, looking to catch the orange line. We also have the histogram that is printing light green bars and reapproaching the 0 line. So that means the histogram goes up and down, up and down. It's going to dip down here in the red, and then it's going to come back up. The oscillators are going to go over and cross bearish and then start to come back up. So that's what I'm looking for. Now you know what my outlook is, and that's not financial advice. I say we're going to touch 105K, and then we're going to probably start several months of a bull run. Okay, now I'll look at one other thing, and then we're going to be done, and that is the total 2 chart. All right, so let's just pop this on the 1 week. I think alt season is coming soon. And you can see here that we are in an ascending wedge formation with the total 2 chart. This chart includes all of the market cap for Ethereum and all of the alts. So we're bouncing up, coming back down, making this low. We bounce up, coming back down, making a higher low. We bounce up, coming back down, wicking to this ascending line, making another higher low. I think we're probably going to surge up a little bit and test the line again as we see a complete stochastic bearish crossover right here falling off sharply. But as it is falling off sharply, the total 2 chart is not correcting as sharply as what the stochastic would suggest. That tells me we're probably gonna nicely come down and bounce off of this ascending line and then move up. And at some point we're going to explode out of this wedge, because that is a bullish ascending wedge. And when that happens, it's going to be alt season. Tell you what, guys, you definitely want to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to look into joining the private group where you can get in with the gang as we are making flips almost on a daily basis, making money, click the link below. And good news, I'm going to have some channel sponsorships in the works, and it is going to help me defray the cost of producing this content. That means I'll have more videos for you, more predictions, more technical analysis. And the first company that I'm looking to connect with is going to be the TANGEM app, the TANGEM wallet. I've got one right here. Let me show you what it looks like. I've got my biggest bag of crypto on this TANGEM wallet right here. There's the card. No one can steal my crypto without having this card. And it's the most safe way to store your crypto in the world. And so I'm going to approach them about doing a sponsorship deal, because I already promoted anyway. And if you want to get a card, you can click my link in the description, and you'll get a $5 bonus, I believe, if you go through my referral link. So look for that to happen. I'm going to have more videos, more stuff, lots more technical analysis, and let me know if you wouldn't mind the sponsored 1 minute, minute and a half content at the beginning of the video in order to help me to crank out more content. That's all I've got for this one. This is Carlton, and I am out.